I stepped into the elevator, not realizing that this was the fateful moment that would change my entire life. After a long, tiring day, I just want to quickly go home, take a hot shower, and fall asleep. I pressed the button for the 18th floor, and the cold metal door slowly closed. But right at the last second, a strong arm stopped it. A strong scent of incense spread into the cramped space, making me shiver involuntarily. I immediately recognized the man who had just entered, Alexander Knight. The man lives on the top floor, the most powerful person in this building. He entered with a leisurely demeanor, but his presence seemed to occupy the entire space. The dark suit hugs his tall body, giving off a dangerous yet strangely attractive look. He didn't look at me right away, just slightly adjusted his sleeve, then stood up straight, his eyes glued to the flashing numbers on the dashboard. I crouched in a corner, my heart suddenly pounding. The narrow space of the elevator suddenly became stuffy and made it difficult to breathe. I heard the sound of my heartbeat echoing in my eardrums, or perhaps it was just an illusion brought on by stress. It was the first time I stood so close to him. The elevator vibrated slightly as the doors closed, then began to move. I tried to ignore him, but his eyes wouldn't. He looked at me. Not simply a glance, but a deep gaze that seemed to penetrate every corner of my soul. Unconsciously, I raised my hand to adjust my collar, trying to create an invisible distance. But at that moment, the elevator vibrated. The lights flashed madly. Already, everything shut down. Darkness covers. I froze. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. What the hell? I hastily pressed the emergency button, but to no avail. There were no responses. Next to me, Alexander stood still, completely calm, not a bit of panic. I turned around, trying to see his face clearly in the darkness. We're stuck. Silent. I pressed the button again. Nothing changes. No rescue signal, no sound of the engine restarting. The stuffiness of the closed space made me start to feel suffocated. I clutched the handrail tightly, trying to stay calm. But then a voice rang out in the darkness. Good. Good? I turned around. There was no worry in his voice. On the contrary, it was chillingly cold. Then the weak light from the backup power system turned on, illuminating half of Alexander's perfect face. He grinned and said slowly, "Finally, we can talk privately." Little did I know this was not an accident, but a pre-arranged plan. The air in the elevator became strangely heavy. The feeling of insecurity gradually spread inside me, every nerve tensed in alarm. I don't know what he wants, but I know for sure that he's not the type of person to randomly fall into an incident. Nothing about Alexander Knight is coincidental. I licked my lips, trying to regain as calm a tone as possible. I don't understand what you're talking about. Alexander looked at me, his cold eyes unblinking. He slowly took a step forward. I reflexively backed away, but behind me was only a cold wall. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice hoarse with tension. He didn't answer right away, just standing there looking at me as if pondering something. Then he spoke in a low voice. "You really don't remember me?" I froze. "Miss him? Have I met him before?" "No way. If I ever meet someone like Alexander, I certainly won't forget. Someone with a cold and dangerous aura like him." But his eyes were not joking. "You forgot," he muttered as if talking to himself. "But I don't." I clenched my fists. A feeling of insecurity spread throughout my body. 2 years ago, you came into my life. My heart skipped a beat. 2 years ago, you changed everything. 2 years ago, I opened my eyes wide, trying to search my memory. Have I met him before? But where? When? "I was the girl that day," Alexander whispered, his voice low but haunting. "Girl in the rain." A memory suddenly flared up. 2 years ago, one night of pouring rain, I accidentally helped an injured man, blood smeared on his shirt. I couldn't see his face clearly because it was too dark. I only knew that he was being chased. I hid him from his pursuers, helping him escape without even asking his name or reason. And then I forgot everything. Why? Because I thought it was just a fleeting night, an anonymous moment in my life. But now the man I once saved was standing in front of me, Alexander Knight. The person who disappeared from the world for 2 years only to come back and find me. My heart beat violently. I shook my head. My breathing quickened. You arranged this?" Alexander nodded, his sharp eyes unwavering. "Right." I clenched my fists. "Why?" He curled his lips and smiled slightly. "Because you are the only person who has ever helped me without asking for anything." He stopped for a moment, then leaned closer, his voice full of haunting. "And now it's my turn to return the favor." My heart seemed to stop beating. "Return the favor? How?" Alexander tilted his head slightly. His eyes were like a knife cutting through my mind. "Get ready," he whispered. "Because from now on, you can't leave my side anymore." The elevator opened, but my life had officially entered a storm. Who am I really to him? I looked at Alexander with puzzled eyes. Why does he want to talk to me? Why is there a strange familiarity in those eyes? A familiarity that I cannot explain? He knows my name, although I'm sure I've never introduced it. We've met before, but you don't remember, right? Alexander looked at me with complicated eyes. My heart sank. Have we met? But why don't I have any memories of him? If I really knew him, why did I forget? Did I forget you, or did someone make me forget? I took a step back. Something's not right. This feeling was too strong, too clear to be a misunderstanding. My heart trembled, not because of fear, but because of a strange insecurity that was taking over my mind. What are you talking about? I've never seen you before. I tried to keep my voice calm, but I also noticed the vibrations in each word. Alexander smiled softly, a smile that was both painful and gentle. I knew you would say that, but that doesn't change the truth. Truth? Which truth? I felt the air become more stuffy. I felt like an invisible hand was squeezing my heart. I couldn't take my eyes off him, but at the same time I couldn't get any closer. Why do I feel this way? Why did Alexander's presence stir strange feelings within me? I don't understand. If I really met you before, then why don't I remember? I asked, my voice weaker than I imagined. Alexander stared at me, his eyes filled with emotions I couldn't decipher. Because I was forced to forget, I was stunned. Forced to forget? I repeated, as if I couldn't believe the words myself. He nodded. Someone erased you from my memory, or at least tried to. I felt my head spinning. The whole world seemed to shake. How could this happen? How could someone erase my memories? And more importantly, why do they do it? I looked into Alexander's eyes. There was something real in his voice and the way he looked at me. It doesn't look like he's lying, but if what he said is true, then what does it mean? I forgot him. Or rather, someone made me forget him. Why? I do not believe. I shook my head. No one can erase another person's memories. You're talking nonsense. I wish it was just a myth, Alexander sighed. But the truth is not that simple. There are things in this world that you have never known, and I am a part of your past that someone has deliberately hidden. A shiver ran down my spine. So who are you? I asked, my voice hoarse with emotion. What have I been to you? Alexander did not answer immediately. He looked at me for a long time, as if searching for something in my eyes. You were my whole world, he whispered. I opened my eyes wide, my breath choking. Are not no way. But my heart betrayed me. It trembled. It was strangely painful, as if trying to remember something my mind couldn't grasp. You're lying to me, I whispered, but my voice was no longer certain. Alexander smiled slightly, but it was not a happy smile. It was a smile of loss. Do you really believe that? He asked. Don't you feel anything? Nothing familiar? Nothing reminiscent? I don't know how to answer. Because, yes, I do feel. I have the feeling that I once knew him. I have the feeling that these eyes, this voice, this breath, all were once very important to me. But why don't I remember? Let me help you remember, Alexander said, holding out his hand. I looked at his hand. Part of me wanted to put my hand in there, wanted to trust him, wanted to discover the truth buried in the darkness of my memories. But another part warns me that if I go down this path, I may never come back. Who am I really to him? And what made me forget him? Alexander looked at me with painful eyes, eyes that seemed to contain a sky of sadness and past memories. Memories that were now only fragments of a distant past. I loved you, but I chose to leave. Those words rang out, gentle but full of power, as if each word, each echo, contained all the pain, all the moments we had together. I stiffened. My heart pounded so hard that I wanted to cry, but instead there was only an indescribable feeling of shock. I wondered, did I ever love him? A simple question, but it carries with it fragments of memories that were once brilliant, but are now broken like sea foam drifting along the blurred water of time. Faint images began to flash in my mind, flickering like weak rays of light in the darkness of memory. I remember a beach where we used to walk together under the sunset, where the sand was smooth and the sea breeze gently blew, carrying many dreams and promises. I remember a kiss under the sunset. That kiss seemed to taste the sweetness of burning love, but also contained so much sadness knowing that time could never come back. And I remember a broken promise, a promise we both believed would last forever, but now seems forgotten, as if it were only a pale shadow among fading memories. I can't remember clearly. I felt like there was a hole in my memory, as if important memories had been stolen, erased from my mind. Every time I try to reminisce, I only see fragments flashing by, incomplete images, making me wonder, did I really love Alexander? And if so, why did I leave him? Every word, every gesture of Alexander, every moment spent together, all seem to be just fragments of mixed memories, not enough to paint a clear picture of a love that once exploded. I try to piece together the broken pieces, but every time I do, I feel like there's a void, like a part of the past has been lost forever. That question kept coming back, not giving me peace. Why? How come I can't remember what used to be? I feel like I'm trapped in a maze of memories, where every door leads to the past, but there is no exit to the present. Every night, as I lie dreaming in loneliness, in the darkness of past memories, I wonder if I will ever be able to remember everything that once was, or if my memories have been erased by pain and loss. I wonder if there is still any real love left in my heart, or if it is all just fragments that have faded over time. That question was like a curse, making me always fall into a state of confusion and bewilderment. In those hazy moments, I remember the first moment when Alexander told me, "I loved you." A word that now resonates in my mind like an echo that never goes away. His eyes at that time were sad and full of faith, as if he believed that no matter how hard I tried to forget, our love was still there, like a flow that could not be interrupted. But that also makes me incomprehensible, because in my mind, those memories are now only blurred fragments, as if garbled by the flow of time, making it impossible for me to realize whether I truly loved him or just a blurry illusion of the past. Those pieces of memory kept coming back, as if every time I tried to piece it together, they would fall apart more, creating a big void. A void that made me feel as if a part of myself had been lost. I felt like I no longer had the strength to face those memories, as if they were so heavy and painful that no one could explain them. Did I really fall in love with Alexander? And why did I choose to leave him? That question kept ringing like a challenge to myself, making it impossible for me to find comfort in my heart. In every passing moment, it seems that the past and present intersect, creating a picture of love full of contradictions and wordless pain. I stand between two worlds. One side is full of sweet memories I once had, but also full of broken promises. One side is the present, where everything seems to have changed, where I no longer remember clearly what used to happen. I feel like there is a deep hole in my memory, as if a part of it has been stolen, leaving me always stuck between the happy moments of the past and the troubled present. Alexander, his eyes filled with pain and regret, kept looking at me as if asking, "Do you remember what we had? Do you remember that our love once burned, was the most precious thing in our lives?" But I, in the confusion of forgetfulness, could only stay silent, not daring to say that I couldn't remember clearly. That silence was like a refusal, like a challenge to fate, that, although I once loved, now I have lost all my memories, lost all ability to feel love like before. As the hours passed in a haze of blurred memories, I began to wonder if I would ever be able to find the lost pieces, if I would ever be able to understand that the love I once had was not just words and gestures, but also a part of myself, a part that, if restored, would make me more perfect. But the answer is still buried in the silence of memory, in a loss that I cannot fully explain. Every time Alexander's eyes followed me, I felt his pain, the regret of a love that was once complete, but is now only broken pieces. His eyes are not only a reminder of the past, but also a call, a hope that even though everything has been stolen by time, we can still find the most precious thing, the love we once had. But I still can't remember. I still don't know if I ever loved Alexander, or if it was just an illusion, a faded dream in the flow of time. Those memories kept coming back, as if every passing moment was a wordless question mark, forcing me to face myself, with loneliness, with the feeling of being lost between faded memories and an empty present. And that question, did I really love Alexander? And if so, why did I leave him? Is like an unspoken curse, making my heart forever restless, forever wandering between the past and the present. Before I could ask more, Alexander's phone suddenly vibrated, breaking the heavy atmosphere of that moment. A female voice rang through the speakers, a voice that felt so familiar to me, as if it had been associated with memories that I could never forget. "Alexander, where are you? Why haven't you returned yet?" That call rang out like a reminder of a truth that I must have tried to forget all these years. My trembling hand tightened around the phone, feeling like a storm was rising in my heart. That voice, so familiar. It shocked me and made my mind confused. That is Chloe, a powerful woman, CEO of the city's largest financial corporation, and also Alexander's fiancée. Chloe's appearance during that call came as a terrible shock, because it made it impossible for me to believe that Alexander, with whom I had thought our love was still alive, had a fiancé. I felt like everything had been turned upside down, as if the memories had come back to life in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Not long after, Alexander put the phone in his pocket without paying attention to the call, as if he didn't want to answer at all. But his words didn't stop there. He turned to me, his eyes cold but also containing an undisguised determination, and said, "I will not let her come between us again." I was shocked. That sentence was like a shock from fate itself. Once again, I felt like everything had been turned upside down, as if Chloe, the strong, powerful, and uncompromising woman, had anything to do with me forgetting Alexander, with our love story that was now so tangled and full of contradictions. I don't know what to think, I don't know how to answer, because inside I'm still fighting between the pain of oblivion and the horror of betrayal. In the midst of that moment, everything seemed more confused than ever. Question. "He said I used to love you, but why don't I remember anything?" Still echoed like a wordless curse mixed with unshed tears. Chloe's appearance through a phone call makes everything even more complicated. I wonder, is Chloe the piece that lost my memories? Could it be that the presence of this third person is the reason why I cannot remember the past, the beautiful but painful memories with Alexander? That question seemed to emphasize the first inevitable twist, the fact that our love was no longer just between two people. The presence of Chloe, Alexander's fiancée, with whom Alexander seems to be trying to hide another relationship, has opened an unpredictable turn in the story. I felt like my heart was being torn apart, as if everything I had ever believed in, everything I had ever remembered, was now torn apart by betrayal and the unexpectedness of fate. Alexander, with cold eyes and sharp words, said that he would not let Chloe come between us. But in my mind, the question became more persistent. Did I really love Alexander? And if so, why did those memories gradually disappear, as if stolen by a third person I didn't recognize? Chloe's appearance made me face a cruel truth. The truth that our love is now not simply between two people, but is also governed by relationships and unspoken promises. Amidst the chaos of emotions, amidst fear and confusion, I felt like my heart was being ripped apart, as if a precious piece of memory had been lost forever. Chloe's appearance through a phone call opened a fateful moment, a moment that I could never return to, a moment in which everything, from love, from memories to even myself, was changed forever. When Alexander put the phone in his pocket, as if he had tried to hide the truth from me, I could only stand there, silent, leaving a lingering question in my heart. Is there anything left of our love but stolen memories, erased by the appearance of a third person? I don't know how to face that. I don't know what to say, because every word is like a knife cutting into my soul, reminding me of a past that I once had, but now it's just broken fragments in my mind. Those fateful moments dragged on, making the atmosphere suffocating, heavy with unspoken questions and unmixed memories. In that moment, I felt like I was no longer myself. I was just a ghost of the past, a shadowy figure amidst stolen memories. And in my mind, the question, did I really love Alexander, echoing like a curse, like a challenge that I can never escape. Chloe, the powerful woman who suddenly appeared through a phone call, has now become a symbol of a truth that I cannot be shocked by. A third person has come between us, has contributed to the loss of memories and the shattering of what once existed between me and Alexander. Her appearance was like a terrible shock, making me not know what to think, what to do to keep what was left in my heart. I couldn't believe that in such a fateful moment, a third person intervened, making everything more complicated than ever. In that moment, Alexander, with his inherent coldness but unable to hide his pain, said, "I will not let her come between us again." Those words seemed to interrupt all my thoughts, making me even more shocked and confused. I stood there, feeling that this was not just a challenge from Alexander to Chloe, but also a reminder that our love, the love I once believed would last forever, was now being tested by an intervention I never expected. Amidst the chaos of emotions, between fear and insecurity, I felt like my heart was being divided into two halves. One half still loved, still cherishing old memories, but the other half was filled with pain and betrayal. The question, I used to love you, but why don't I remember anything? It was like a curse, like a ghost that couldn't escape my mind, making me forever live in confusion and bewilderment. Before Chloe's unexpected appearance, before Alexander's cold words, and before the gradually fading memories that I could not grasp, I felt that everything had been brutally turned upside down. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to face the truth, because every passing moment reminds me that I once had a deep love. But now, it's just stolen memories, erased by time and by the intervention of a third person. In that moment, I stood between the disintegrated pieces of the past and present. Unspoken questions rose in my mind. Did I really love Alexander? And if so, why are my memories gradually disappearing as if they were stolen? I don't know if the third person, Chloe, is the reason everything is so confusing, making my memories incomplete, or perhaps fate has arranged a new path for me, where imperfect memories are proof of a love that once existed. Below is the entire content developed according to the given outline, ensuring a length of approximately 4,000 words with profound, touching language and keeping the core elements intact without creating or adding or subtracting anything. Alexander stood before the dim light of the cold, dark room, where the air seemed to be compressed by silence and memories that had once lived forever. In that moment, with a voice heavy with pain, he revealed the long-hidden truth. You and I were once engaged. Those words rang out like an irrefutable statement, awakening shock and disbelief in everyone's hearts. Alexander continued, his voice still sad. Chloe is the one who broke up our relationship. It was she who caused the accident that caused me to lose my memory of Alexander. Those words were like sharp knives cutting through the air, making it impossible for everyone to take their eyes off his pain-filled face. Alexander couldn't believe his own ears. He wondered in his heart, I can't believe it. Chloe, a successful, noble woman who always appears in the media with a perfect image. Did she really do that to me? Each sentence of Alexander seemed to engrave indelible scars on the listener's mind. He poured out all the pain. All the sweet memories that once existed were now tightly covered by Chloe's cruel betrayal. And then, he wondered silently in his mind, if I really loved Alexander, why was I forced to forget him? These words echo like the echoes of a past that will never be forgotten, like storms that surround the souls of those who once loved them. Every word and every sentence of Alexander seems to evoke a painful picture of a love that was once brilliant, but now only remains are broken pieces. He not only revealed the truth, but also pushed all those memories to the surface, as if wanting to force everyone to face the past for which he could never show forgiveness. The atmosphere in the room gradually became tense to the point where each breath felt like a countdown to the inevitable. Alexander, with an expression unable to hide his horror, seemed to want to ask himself, how could I be so deceived that I had to forget my own love? That question seemed to echo throughout the space, challenging all prejudices and beliefs about love. He stood there, not only to tell the painful truth, but also to pose a challenge to fate. That no matter how much pain there is, love is still something that cannot be destroyed if we have the courage to face the truth. In that moment, all eyes seemed unable to leave Alexander's face. The face that now contained all the pain, betrayal, and a longing to live again with true love. Chloe, he added, the woman I trusted, whose image in the media was always perfect. Could she really have done that to me? Those words are not simply accusations, but also a lament of a wounded heart, of a soul that cannot forgive what has happened. Alexander's words made the air in the room feel suffocated, as if every passing moment was a transformation of the past. The witnesses seemed to just stay silent, leaving Alexander and those involved time to feel the pain and loss without words. And at that moment, the question, if I really loved Alexander, why was I forced to forget him, still rushes back, like a challenge from fate to everything that has ever existed in their past. Unable to accept the painful truth that had been revealed, Alexander did not hesitate to decide to counterattack. He not only wants to force everyone to face the past, but also wants to force Anna, the person he loves, to remember all the hidden memories, even though it is something she is still afraid of. He asked, I want you to come back to me. Remember everything we had. But in Anna's heart, the fear still hasn't subsided, the fear that facing the past will bring her even more pain. At that moment, as if fate refused to back down, Chloe appeared. She, with a cold expression and a warning voice, stepped forward and said, "If you dare go back to Alexander, I will ruin your life again." Those warnings rang out, without saying too much, but enough to make Anna tremble, her heart frozen in terror. She recalls that before, Chloe had done that, had caused her to suffer an accident that caused her to lose precious memories, forcing her to forget her own love. She did it once, she can do it again. That sentence seemed like a threat from the past, like an unspoken curse that made it impossible for Anna to find a way out. In that frustrated moment, Alexander squeezed Anna's hand tightly. He did not allow her to run away from the truth, did not allow her to give up the love they once had. "This time I won't let you leave," he said, his voice ringing with determination, containing all the pain and desire to regain his lost memories. He wanted her to remember everything, wanted her to face her past, even if it meant breaking her heart even more. In the storm of emotions, between the sighs of fate and Chloe's threatening warnings, Anna stands at the crossroads of choice. She trembled, her heart choked with fear and confusion. In every gesture, in every moment, she felt that even though she had loved Alexander deeply, fear was always mixed in, making her not dare to open her heart to remember everything that had passed. Should I run away or fight for my love? That question rang in her mind like a challenge from fate to herself. Alexander, with eyes that could not hide his concern, tried to emphasize, "Baby, give me a chance. I love you, and I want you to remember everything. Not to hurt you, but to help you regain yourself." But in Anna's heart, the fear is still there. The fear that if she faces the past, she will never be able to live freely again. She will forever be imprisoned in painful memories, in wounds that have not yet healed. Alexander's words, combined with Chloe's cold threat, created an atmosphere so tense that everything seemed to no longer allow for a moment of silence. Every moment that passes is like an internal battle between fear and love, between past and present. Anna stood there, in the middle of a storm of emotions, with every tear, with every pounding heartbeat, like a cry for help from her soul, like a wordless plea, "I don't know what to do. Should I run away or fight for my love?" In that fateful moment, everything seemed to be questioned by unspoken questions. Questions about the value of love, about the ability to forgive, and about whether to give each other a second chance or not. Alexander, with eyes full of determination, squeezed Anna's hand as a promise that no matter how much the past hurt him, he would not let go. "This time, I won't let you leave," he said. And in that moment, their destiny was etched into every heartbeat, a wordless challenge to the mistakes of the past, an invitation to a new beginning. The day before the contract ended, when everything seemed to have reached its breaking point, Emma quietly left without asking for a penny. She has endured so much pressure, so much coercion, but now her heart decides that she needs freedom. She left in silence, without a word of complaint, without an explanation, just a simple action, as if it were the end of everything she had ever known. But fate does not allow any peace. Alexander, who had endured so much pain from losing the person he loved, desperately searched everywhere for Emma. He couldn't live without her, couldn't imagine a life without Emma, the person who had been his whole world. With each passing moment, his despair became heavier until he decided to take action. Under the pouring rain, with raindrops seemingly mixing with each heartbeat, Alexander appeared at Emma's door. He stood there, drenched in the rain, but his eyes were filled with sincerity for the first time, no longer a sign of hatred, only love and the desire to heal. He said, "There are no more contracts left. This time I want you to stay, because I love you." Those words were like a call from destiny, awakening a past that was once full of misunderstandings and unforgettable mistakes. In that moment, Emma's heart trembled with every beat, as if all the pain and memories that had been hidden were now rising up, demanding to be relived. Emma, confused and hurt, couldn't deny that her heart was still fluttering, still remembering what had made her love Alexander. But at the same time, the fear still hasn't subsided. The fear that if she goes back, she will have to face the past with the wounds she tried to bury. But Alexander did not wait any longer. He came closer, squeezing Emma's hand in the rain, as if wanting to hold on to all that was left of the love he once had. "This time I won't let you leave," he declared, his voice filled with the determination and fragility of a heart that had once been in pain but was now inseparable from love. In the midst of the rain, in the midst of the wind and the constant sound of falling rain, Emma stood there, in the midst of confusion and pain, facing a decisive question. Should I run away or fight for my love? She remembers the past days, the happy moments with Alexander, the dreams that once lived brightly but also cannot forget the sad moments of separation. In Emma's heart, all the mixed emotions and memories were like incomplete puzzle pieces, making her feel like her heart was broken. But then, in the middle of the rain, under the gloomy sky, she suddenly realized that no matter how dark the past was, she could not continue to live in fear, in separation. She slowly walked towards Alexander, her eyes shining with determination and hope, as if affirming, "I will never lose you again." Raindrops fell like an oath of fate, and in that moment, both past and present seemed to intersect, creating an emotional picture. Alexander, with warm eyes and a heart full of hope, looked deeply into Emma's eyes and said, "Baby, give me a chance. Let us start over again, so I can fix everything, so our love can live again." In the sound of falling rain, between Anna's cries and Alexander's oath, their destiny seemed to be engraved in every heartbeat. The promise that no matter how many misunderstandings there were, no matter how deep the past left them, this time they would never lose each other again. She stood there in the middle of the pouring rain with tears mixed with each drop of rain. And in Anna's heart there was hope that, even though the pain might make her tremble, she would fight for her love, for the future she always longed for. Her decision is not just a choice between running away or facing down, but a brave determination to never let go of love, to never let the past destroy her own dream. Alexander and Emma, under the unrelenting rain, stood together, hand in hand, as if all the painful memories of the past were just lessons to make them stronger. In that moment, everything became clear. Their love, although once torn apart by misunderstandings and pain, has now become a source of strength for them to rebuild a new future together. A future in which they will never lose each other again. The rain poured down, but in both of their souls, the light of sincere love suddenly flashed, warm and brilliant. Alexander squeezed Emma's hand tighter, as if to confirm, "I won't let you leave. This time, we will fight for our love." And in that moment, Anna also realized that no matter how difficult things were, she would never let love be killed by fear, by threats of the past. She opened her heart, walked closer to Alexander, and in a choked cry she whispered, "If I could turn back time, I would never leave you." The vows, the tears, and the pouring rain became witnesses to a fateful decision, a decision of a heart that never wanted to give up its belief in love. Emma, although still confused, decided in her heart that this time she would fight for her love. She would never let the past make her live in loneliness and regret. She knew that if she could face and overcome the painful memories, her love for Alexander would become stronger than ever. Amidst the rain and darkness of the night, Emma and Alexander's fate was carved by wordless vows, by tears mixed with the sound of rain, and by the courage of two hearts that once loved deeply but also endured nameless pain. They stood there, speechless, only knowing that this was the moment where life could change forever, the moment they could regain everything, from the love they once lost to their belief in a new beginning. And as the rain gradually lowered its noise, as the atmosphere became gentler, Alexander and Emma stepped into a future together that was not only a restart of love, but also a commitment that, although the past may contain wounds that cannot be healed, the future is always open to those who dare to love, dare to forgive, and dare to live fully. Finally, after so many emotional storms, after so much pain in the past, Alexander and Emma found each other again. Alexander, who had endured the bitterness of loss, forgave Emma, the person he loved so much that he would never forget. He realized that sincere love cannot be destroyed by misunderstandings, distance, or irreversible mistakes. That night, under the flickering light of the candles and the warm music echoing in the space, Alexander bent down, placed the ring on Emma's hand and said, "You, from now on, we are no longer bound by any contract or fate. I love you not because we have a perfect past, but because we have overcome everything, because our love is always so strong that it cannot be separated. Those words are like the seeds of a new beginning, full of hope and belief that no matter how many scars of the past, love is always something that can heal and brighten the future. Emma, with warm eyes and a radiant smile, looked into Alexander's eyes as if all the pain that had passed had now become light, leaving only the perfect happiness of a love built on forgiveness and sincerity. 1 year later, in a real wedding ceremony held with all solemnity and warmth, without any contracts or artificial constraints, Alexander and Emma officially held their wedding. That wedding is not only a celebration of love, but also a symbol of the victory of faith, forgiveness and love that cannot be bought with money. During the ceremony, Alexander stood before the guests and said, "We lost each other once, but now we start again. Our love is not something that can be valued or exchanged. It is built from shared moments, from memories we once loved, and from the belief that once we have found each other, we will never lose each other again." Those words echoed in the air like the oath of a sincere heart. Emma, from a poor and once forced girl, has now become the most loved woman, the person Alexander considers everything, the person he believes will be his lifelong companion. There are no more lies or false attachments, only true love remains, nourished by trust, forgiveness, and never-ending hope. In that moment, everything was given a second chance. The past, no matter how dark, is now just a lesson for us to learn, so we can become stronger. Alexander and Emma walked out of the ceremony together, hand in hand, as if they were writing the next chapter of their lives together, a chapter of perfect happiness, of love that endures over time. The lesson learned from this story is clear and profound. Misunderstandings can destroy a love, but the truth always finds its way back. Real love cannot be destroyed by time or distance. Once you find each other, never lose each other again. That message reminds us that within every person there exists the power of sincerity and love. Even if the past leaves wounds that cannot be erased, even if misunderstandings destroy trust, as long as we know how to forgive and open our hearts, sincere love can always find its way back. It is not something that can be bought or exchanged for anything. It just needs to be cultivated through small actions, through sincere words, and through the belief that once we have found the person we love, we must never lose them. If you feel the power of this story, if you believe that amidst all misunderstandings and distances, sincere love can always overcome everything, click like and subscribe to the channel to look forward to the next exciting stories. Each like, each registration is not only support for the content we share, but also a commitment that, within each of us, there is the ability to create eternal love, love that can heal all wounds and bring faith in the future. Leave a comment below, share your thoughts, tell your story about the time a small act of kindness changed your life. We believe that these stories will be an invaluable source of encouragement for those who need to regain faith, a fire to warm hearts lost amid the storms of life. Let's spread the message that once you find the person you love, never lose them. Because true love, built from trust and forgiveness, will always be able to overcome all the tests of time. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect with us. If you love this story, don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next profound, touching, and inspirational stories.